I think the future is going to be cleaner. I think the future is going to have more options, and I see already a lot of businesses just doing. If they're going to make a gravy, why not use rice flour instead of regular flour? And a lot of businesses have made those changes. They're a lot more aware in the kitchen about how they prepare things, and come up with systems to make sure that there's no risk of cross-contamination or less risk of cross-contamination. So I think there's a lot of change that's already happened, which is exciting to see.
Welcome to Gluten Free YYC. My name is Maggie Mackenzie, and I live in Calgary, Alberta, aka YYC. I've been diagnosed with celiac disease for about 10 years now, and that means that I can't safely eat gluten.
Celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, and it causes a permanent disability to digest gluten. And gluten is found in wheat, in barley, in rye, and in triticale. And it's a protein. When you are diagnosed with celiac disease, that means that you cannot digest that protein that is found in gluten.
Eating gluten-free comes with plenty of challenges, but eating out is one of the biggest. That's why I'm excited to be showing you some of Calgary's fully gluten-free restaurants and bakeries. WholeLifeGo is a plant-based restaurant in Calgary's northwest. First, we'll be chatting with one of the owners, Christina.
I'm Christina Milkey. I'm the owner and founder, along with my husband, of WholeLifeGo. It's a little organic, gluten-free, whole food focused vegan cafe. We do healthy food, anything you kind of want to eat or drink in a day. We got a full coffee tea menu. We have desserts and snacks, and mostly all of it is made here in-house. We don't handle any gluten-containing ingredients in our facility. And we focus on whole vegan food. So our specialty though is vegan sushi. So that's what people are really excited about. That's what we're excited about too. But we do everything a little bit Japanese twisted. I have a Japanese heritage and just passionate about Japanese food. We opened right during the pandemic. So we had years of planning and construction and all this fun stuff. And when we were ready to get going, it was the first lockdown in Calgary. We weren't totally launched yet. We weren't ready to launch exactly at that point, but right when the first lockdown happened was kind of our planned soft launch. We had a big event to do downtown, and then that was actually the last public event that happened in the city. So that's when we opened, and then we just kind of, we all went to lockdown, and we said, well, what are we going to do? We just decided to start anyway and just do takeout. And not open the front end at all. So we had the doors closed and we just did orders and delivered them out into the back where the parking lot is. And so that's how we started, and we just kind of worked through our kinks, and we eventually opened up the front end, and that's how we got started, just with the family, no staff. And then as things opened up and became safer, we started finally hiring people, and now we're kind of, getting a little bit into the groove. We've got more help in the kitchen, and so we're starting to kind of launch, more of the original concept.
Amazing.
So,
wow, that's so challenging. Gosh.
After 3 years.
I also had an opportunity to chat with Emily from the Calgary Celiac Association to learn about how they support people with celiac disease.
It's like the learning around it is like an onion, right? Because it's so overwhelming when you first get diagnosed, right? And you can't absorb every little bit of information. So like as you go along, you're like, oh, I think I was like glutening myself because I didn't know that I can't put gluten-free bread in a toaster, right? Or I'm using this pan that's like maybe has like grooves in it, and I'm glutening myself, or sometimes reading labels, like you don't know if it says like may contain wheat, can I have that? Or like, so it's just like you're just constantly learning about what's safe and what's not safe, and how to advocate for yourself too.
Well, yes, it's been very challenging, just mostly because it was just us in the beginning, the family, and trying to keep up with everything as we kind of grew a little bit, just really through word of mouth. But there's also been a lot of challenges in terms of during the pandemic, especially being, specialized in the way we do things, the ingredients that we use, the quality of ingredients that we use, like organic, gluten-free certified. There's a lot of our suppliers are small, and a lot of the ingredients that we use are not necessarily, commonly available everywhere.
Yeah.
And so there's been a ton of supply disruption.
Yeah.
That's been really tough. So we just have to sort of make adjustments as we go. Sometimes we just have to run around to 5 different stores to find that one gluten-free miso, that's now not available for the next month, it's challenging doing things differently like this, for sure. My family had a lot of illnesses, and I discovered, this, how the connection between eating and nutrition from eating and reverse or even prevention of disease. I started learning about plant-based nutrition, and I got really excited about it. And we just, in that process of changing our diet really significantly, discovered that one of my younger son has some serious side effects from eating gluten-containing foods, and just because we just went on to seitan and things like that, which is pure gluten.
Oh yeah.
And we noticed some major changes, and so then I started playing around with it. It took me literally 2 years to figure out, because he had a lot of sensitivities to a lot of different foods. It did take a long time to kind of figure out, make sure that this is what it was, and these are the things that he has to be careful about. So we just had a lot of sensitivities. My second son is similar. We don't push the envelope too much at this point.
My daughter was 10 when she was diagnosed, and it's really hard sometimes at school. And we did send her to camp, and it was always a big negotiation around food, and sometimes kids weren't very nice, and sometimes adults didn't get it, and so it's nice. I think that's what I really want to do, is provide a safe space for kids. They can just come and be kids, right?
Yeah. Being gluten-free not by choice necessarily, has allowed me to discover, all these different plants that we can use in place of gluten that are actually really healthy, whole, and super beneficial in terms of health, nutrition. So I don't know who it's come from or how we got to this point where there were so many sensitivities, or it's just kids now, they just have, food is made differently, and they just have so many more intolerances and things like that. So I'm not sure how this all happened in terms of sensitivities, but I welcomed it because of the variety that we got to include in our diet. And so when it came to having a business, going out to eat really wasn't an option. It was very, very difficult, and back then there wasn't a lot of education around in kitchens, allergies and things like that. So.
I think there's just a lack of awareness in most of the population, right? About how to avoid cross-contamination, and a little bit is too much. We can't have any, and so sometimes it's really hard to navigate that because people treat you like it's not that hard. And it gets stressful, and there's anxiety issues around trusting that you can eat something that someone has made for you. So it's really hard.
It's not just for people that are gluten-free, and it's not for people that are on a gluten-free diet. It's just we don't use that ingredient. We use all these other great ingredients instead. So I don't see it being a barrier. It's more the opposite. It's more opens up for opportunities.
When I tell people I have celiac disease and I can't have gluten, they're always like, "Oh, I could never do that." That's always the standard response. And so to hear you say "Oh, it's allowed me to try so many other foods," it's that's a really beautiful perspective. I really appreciate
it can be an unhealthy thing to do if you're consuming a lot of highly processed things instead of eating gluten. Because if you don't have an issue with gluten, there's nothing wrong with these healthy grains. But for others, there can be. And why not, even if you do eat it, why not expand your, plant portfolio? Because the evidence is there in terms of health. The more plants and the more varieties of plants that we consume, the better it is for our microbiome, the better it is for our health. So it's just better for anybody to expand that and try different things. So Yeah, so we want to kind of click all the boxes off because we want it to be sort of a one-stop shop where you can find anything you really need to eat in a day and to support healthy eating in general, like to inspire people if they're just here for a coffee, that they can see kind of what we do and all the other things that they could do as well to kind of replace conventional food and try something different, try something healthier. Just because of my heritage, I'm really passionate about Japanese food. I find sushi in particular here is so popular, and it's just been such a great vehicle for my friends, for my family, for everybody I know to get them to try different ingredients, right? So not fish sushi, but to just open up their mind and experiment. It's like a blank canvas, right? So I find sushi to be very well received, and you can be really creative, and yeah, just have people try something different. So yeah, that's why we focus, specialize in the sushi, but we do everything else we do has a little bit of a Japanese twist to it. What is the most important thing? That's a loaded question. I mean, we're doing this also for the planet, for the people, and for all of its inhabitants. So eating healthy for us gives us benefits for our own health, but it also helps the environment. Eating sustainably, eating lower on the food chain, eating a more plant-based diet is better for the environment and the animals, of course. So, whether it's deforestation or the health of the oceans, especially with fishing industries and what it's doing to our ocean health. Switching to vegan sushi, even if it's not 100% of the time, the more people that switch and have it once a week or twice a week or whenever they feel like it is going to be beneficial for that as well. And just the whole, the whole thing around animals and animal rights and what we do to animals to use them for our own benefit is something that we can definitely change without making any sacrifices.
Yeah.
In fact, we get a lot of benefit from doing that. So the more vegetarian, vegan options that we choose in a day, the better it is for everybody. So it kind of hits all the marks, and that to me is really important. So, but we gotta, we can do it all. We don't have to pick the one thing. We can do it all, and we don't have to go 100% necessarily at first. We can just experiment and expand into that whole thing. It's easy to make certain, like you can make a dish gluten-free, you can make a dish animal-free, and you get great benefit. It tastes delicious too.
Oh, yeah. So what we do is we go through like all the sort of medical side of diagnosis, like what it means when you get diagnosed with celiac disease, and we just like educate people about what's going on with your small intestine, when you consume gluten, and we talk about like where you find gluten, and so that they can eat safely, and then also like how to deal with the social side of having celiac disease. So when you go to someone's house for dinner, like how to navigate that. When you go to a restaurant, what should you do? And also traveling. And how to read a label. When you go to the grocery store, like what do you look for? Because sometimes it's really overwhelming when you first get diagnosed and you walk into a grocery store and you're like, okay, well, now what am I gonna eat?
For sushi, our best sellers are our spicy miso mango roll, our green roll, and our fire roll. Those are kind of the top ones. We also like to try new things all the time. So we have lots of feature items that we bring out that are new. They end up staying on the menu, or we just rotate through them. So those are sort of the staples. We also sell a lot of our red rolls. So instead of tuna, we use marinated tomato, and we have avocado in those rolls, so it gives you that, it tricks you a little bit with the fat, mouthfeel of the fat from the avocado, and the look of the tomato, but also just, the freshness of the tomato and the texture of the tomato is very similar to tuna, so we find it a great replacement.
That's so cool.
The different things. To be honest, I love our salads. Our salads are really delicious, and they're super refreshing, and I love to eat salads personally, so I think it's great. But I'm also excited about our ramen. So the Japanese ramen noodles are you know, if you're celiac, you probably are staying away from noodle houses for the most part. But or pizzerias for that. But our ramen is exciting for me because it's all organic ingredients. It's gluten free. It's also oil free. So we use like whole nuts and seeds to mimic the creamy, rich broth that you would see in like a southern Japanese style broth, which is usually achieved with like different animal bones and things like that.
Right.
So we achieve that richness with a blend of different whole ingredients, and we use we make our own textured protein out of tofu. It's like simple, it's not processed. So, and the ramen noodles are really great because they're organic brown rice and millet. They have a really good texture and great nutritional profile. So I like the ramen a lot too. So if you're okay with spice, we'd like to let you try a bunch of our sushi, spicy, not spicy, and some of our pressed sushi, which is also really good. It's a different style of sushi. Oshizushi it's called. So we have a lot of really great oshizushi that we do, and maybe you can try some ramen.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what everybody's hungry for, but save room for some dessert and some drinks too.
After chatting with Christina, I was dying to taste the food, but I didn't want to do it alone, so I invited Daphne to come and join me to try the food and chat about her experience with celiac disease.
My name is Daphne, and I've been diagnosed with celiac disease for about 8 years now. So I was diagnosed in the second year of university, and I had my diagnosis, and I thought, okay, that's not a big deal at all. I just won't eat gluten. It sounds relatively simple. And so while I was in university, I ordered out from places like Domino's, gluten-free pizza, and I never really started feeling better. But when you're in university, you're stressed out all the time, and you just think that that's probably normal.
Right.
So after university, my blood results were still coming back quite high for celiac disease, and so I started to get a lot more serious about where I was eating out, and also starting to look at other products that I didn't really realize had gluten in them. So things like cosmetic products, lip balm, hairspray, dry shampoo, things like that. So I'm a lot more strict now, and I'm a lot more educated now than I was at the beginning. My relationship with eating out is very complicated. I try to find places that are 100% gluten-free, but oftentimes that's not really an option if you're going out with friends or family or with larger groups. So I always get a little bit nervous, especially if I don't know the restaurant, and it seems like every restaurant is different when they say gluten-friendly.
Right.
Some are truly gluten-friendly, and they don't do a very good job at limiting cross-contamination, and then other places that are gluten-friendly take it a lot more seriously and have less cross-contamination. So I think a place where my celiac disease comes up a lot, but people don't really think about it, is the grocery store. And I think a lot about how when people who don't have celiac disease enter a grocery store, they have lots of food options and they can find everything that they need. But when you have celiac disease, you go into a grocery store and you don't know if there's going to be gluten-free bread there. And we're pretty lucky here in Calgary, but in smaller cities, smaller towns, if you're traveling, that can really be difficult.
Yeah.
And then I also think about some of the smaller things. So things like baguette, croissants, donuts, those are really hard to find gluten-free. And even though those are kind of luxury items, not having an option or an opportunity to indulge in those can be really mentally challenging.
Yeah, it's disheartening.
So another thing that people seem to have a misconception about with celiac disease is that it fits into like one body type or one body shape, and that's just not true at all. You can perfectly healthy weight, you can be underweight, you can be overweight, and it doesn't really discriminate against anybody.
Yeah. Well, and even the symptoms are so varied. Like it's people don't have the same kind of reactions all the time, and even like I know people who are basically asymptomatic. It just shows up in their blood work,
Right.
and it's still not good for them to eat gluten because it can lead to other things.
I think what I would want people to know about celiac disease is that it takes a lot of confidence, and it takes a lot of resilience and a lot of self-advocacy. So that's something that's just slowly learned over time, and it takes time to gain. And when someone with celiac disease kind of speaks up about that in a group setting or something like that, that these things really matter to them. And I think for me, I kind of just realized when some of my friends would be drinking craft beer and they'd say like, oh, this beer is so good, sucks you can't have any. That was really, really hard.
Yeah.
And so now I've kind of explained to them that, you know, that's hurtful, and it's nicer to use like more inclusive language, or like find ways to include myself or people with other dietary restrictions in conversations to make them feel better or empower them.
Yeah. I love that.
My words of encouragement would be to just keep on going, do your best, and things will slowly start to come together and make sense, as long as you just keep taking it seriously and putting in the effort. And that's essentially what just needs to be done.
There's fats and everything.